Inline combustion engine. This is the most common engine layout you'll find in everyday cars. The cylinders are arranged in a single straight row, all sitting in line with each other. It's simple to build, easy to maintain, and fits neatly in most engine bays. You'll typically see it in 3, 4, or 6-cylinder form. The 4-cylinder version, in particular, powers the majority of compact and mid-size cars on the road today. Its straightforward design means fewer parts to go wrong, which is a big part of why it became the default choice for mass-market vehicles. V-engine. Instead of one row of cylinders, a V-engine splits them into two banks set at an angle to each other, forming a V-shape when viewed from the front. This layout lets engineers pack more cylinders into a shorter, wider block. V6 and V8 engines are the most familiar versions, though V10 and V12 configurations exist in performance and luxury vehicles. The shorter length compared to a straight 6 made the V8 especially popular in American cars from the 1950s onward, where it became closely associated with muscle cars and trucks. The trade-off is added mechanical complexity and slightly higher production costs. Flat engine. Here, the cylinders are laid completely on their sides, split into two banks running horizontally in opposite directions. The result is an engine that sits very low in the car, which drops the center of gravity and improves handling balance. Porsche and Subaru are the two brands most associated with this layout. Porsche has used flat engines in the 911 since 1963, mounted behind the rear axle. Subaru places theirs up front, where the low profile helps with all-wheel drive packaging. The flat engine's width can make it harder to work on, but the dynamic benefits keep certain manufacturers loyal to it. Rotary engine. Rather than pistons moving up and down, a rotary engine uses a triangular rotor spinning inside an oval-shaped housing. Each face of the rotor performs a different part of the combustion cycle as it rotates. Mazda is almost entirely responsible for bringing this engine to production cars, starting with the Cosmo in 1967. The design is remarkably compact and smooth, with almost no vibration. The downsides became well known over time: higher fuel consumption, oil burning by design, and difficulty meeting modern emission standards. Mazda officially retired it from road cars in 2012, though they brought it back in a limited role as a range extender in the MX-30 in 2023. W engine. A W engine takes the V layout and adds a third bank of cylinders, or more precisely, combines two narrow V arrangements into a single wide block. Volkswagen Group developed the modern version of this design to fit a 12 or 16-cylinder engine into a space normally reserved for something much smaller. The W12 appears in the Bentley Continental and the Audi A8, while the W16 famously powered the Bugatti Veyron and Chiron. Packaging that many cylinders into a manageable size required a very unconventional arrangement of the internal components. It's an engineering solution to a specific problem: extreme power in a usable form. Two-stroke engine. A two-stroke engine completes a full power cycle in just 2 piston movements rather than 4. There's no dedicated intake or exhaust stroke. The fuel and exhaust gases are managed through ports in the cylinder wall as the piston moves. This makes the engine lighter and simpler, and it produces a power stroke on every revolution, giving it more power relative to its size. The downside is that fuel and oil mix together in ways that create more emissions, which is why two-strokes largely disappeared from road vehicles. They're still found in chainsaws, small motorcycles, and some marine engines, where simplicity and weight matter more than efficiency. Four-stroke engine. This is the engine cycle that runs almost every car on the road. Each power cycle requires 4 piston strokes: intake, compression, power, and exhaust. The piston draws in air and fuel, compresses the mixture, ignites it, and pushes out the burnt gases. Nicholas Otto developed the 4-stroke cycle in 1876, which is why it's sometimes called the Otto cycle. The design is less powerful per revolution than a 2-stroke, but far cleaner and more fuel efficient. It became the foundation of the automotive industry and remains the dominant internal combustion layout to this day. Electric motor. An electric motor converts electrical energy directly into rotational motion using magnetic fields. There are no pistons, no combustion, and no exhaust. Torque is available immediately from a standstill, which gives electric cars a strong, linear surge of acceleration that combustion engines can't replicate in the same way. The energy comes from a battery pack rather than a fuel tank, and the motor itself has very few moving parts compared to any combustion engine. Early electric vehicles actually predate the gasoline car. They were common in the late 1800s before cheap fuel and longer range made combustion engines dominant. The shift back toward electric power has been building steadily since the early 2000s. Hybrid engine. A hybrid system combines a conventional combustion engine with one or more electric motors. The two power sources work together, with the car switching between them or using both at once depending on conditions. At low speeds or in traffic, many hybrids run on electricity alone. At higher speeds or during hard acceleration, the combustion engine takes over or assists. The battery is charged through regenerative braking and by the engine itself, so the car never needs to be plugged in. Toyota popularized this layout with the Prius in 1997, and the technology has since spread across nearly every segment of the market. Plug-in hybrid engine. A plug-in hybrid works on the same principle as a standard hybrid, but carries a much larger battery that can be charged from an external power source. This allows for a meaningful range on electricity alone, typically somewhere between 20 and 60 miles, depending on the vehicle, before the combustion engine becomes the primary source of power. For drivers who mostly make short trips and charge regularly, the engine may rarely run at all. For longer journeys, it functions like a conventional hybrid. The system suits drivers who want the option of electric driving without committing entirely to a battery-only vehicle. Hydrogen fuel cell engine. A hydrogen fuel cell generates electricity through a chemical reaction between hydrogen and oxygen. That electricity powers an electric motor, so the drivetrain itself works similarly to an electric vehicle. The key difference is that the energy is stored as compressed hydrogen gas rather than in a large battery pack. Refueling takes minutes rather than hours, and the only emissions from the tailpipe is water vapor. The challenge has always been infrastructure. Hydrogen filling stations are scarce in most parts of the world. Toyota and Hyundai have been the most committed mainstream manufacturers, but fuel cell vehicles remain rare outside of certain regions and fleet applications. Diesel engine. A diesel engine ignites fuel through heat created by compression alone, without a spark plug. The air inside the cylinder is compressed so tightly that it becomes hot enough to ignite the diesel fuel when it's injected. Rudolf Diesel developed this principle in the 1890s, and the engine became a cornerstone of commercial transport. Diesel produces more torque than a petrol engine of similar size, which makes it well suited for trucks, vans, and towing. It also tends to be more fuel efficient on long highway runs. Emissions issues, particularly nitrogen oxides and particulate matter, brought diesel under significant regulatory pressure in the 2010s, and its presence in passenger cars has been declining since then. Mild hybrid engine. A mild hybrid adds a small electric motor and a modest battery to a standard combustion engine, but the electric component cannot power the car on its own. It assists the engine during acceleration, recovers energy under braking, and can shut the engine off more smoothly at stops. The system adds efficiency without the complexity or cost of a full hybrid drivetrain. Many modern cars include mild hybrid technology without advertising it prominently. It works largely in the background, reducing fuel consumption by a small but meaningful margin. It's become one of the more common ways for manufacturers to improve economy across their conventional vehicle ranges.